Hello and welcome into Betting Life's pregame college football betting show. I am your host, Thor Nystrom, joined as always by NBC Sports' Eric Froton. And the coach, Gene Clemons, will be joining us momentarily here. Later in the show, we will be joined by Mike Bainbridge for DFS and player props. And over the next 90 minutes, of course, we're going to be giving out our best bets of the day, all of our favorite player props, and answering your audience questions. If you're with us on YouTube, you can type those audience questions beneath us, and we will get to those periodically throughout the show. Also, if you're on YouTube, you wouldn't mind clicking the like or even the subscribe. We'd appreciate that as well. It helps us get the word out there that we're doing this. If you're watching us on Twitter, you wouldn't mind sharing that link. We'd do the same. We'd greatly appreciate it. Froton, we got a lot to get to today, so let's get right into it, starting with the SEC and noon kickoff Eastern, Arkansas and Texas. This line has come down throughout the week as we have gotten more promising news on the Arkansas health situation. Arkansas was a team that was badly banged up heading into its bye. They're now coming off a bye, and like I said, we got good news there. Jaquindon Jackson, Arkansas's running back, he has been listed as probable for this game. The signs we're getting is that he is going to play. And then Talon Green has also been upgraded earlier this week to probable. Looks like he is going to play as well. And then on the Texas side, Cameron Williams, their starting right tackle, looks like he is going to play for the Longhorns after his status was up in the air earlier this week. Froton, this line now coming down to 13, 12.5, depending on where you look at it. Spoiler alert, I bet Arkansas plus 16.5 on Sunday. That's how far we've come with this line. How do you see it? And do you have any prop angles for this one?
Yeah, well, as far as prop angles, we always do. But with Texas and Arkansas, the big storylines for me are, first off, Talon Green, as you mentioned, had a knee injury 2 weeks ago. Malachi Singleton, their backup quarterback, went and finished out that game. And in the bye week, he has, since been able to do enough to play. But, he's at 28.5 rushing yards, was lined initially at 40.5 rushing yards. That immediately plummeted quickly as soon as that was dropped. And the reason why is, he has a knee injury right out of the gate, and they're dealing with Texas. And while Texas has the number one pass defense in EPA per dropback, number 2 in yards per successful dropback, number 2 when it comes to completions of 20-plus yards, so just a truly elite unit, Arkansas is going to have to keep Talon Green upright. And if this game gets out of hand, which I have a feeling it will, I don't see any reason why they keep him out there where they got 2 more games left, and you have Malachi Singleton, who's very competent behind him. I just don't see a script where Sam Pittman says, yeah, we're going to run Talon Green enough to get past that 28.5 yards barrier. 3 of the last 4 games, he has gone well underneath that. One, he went and popped 7 yards, but we're talking he's been in single digits 3 of the last 4 games, and now he has a knee ailment. I just don't think it makes any sense for them to be running him against this Texas team. They need to keep him healthy. Also, on the other side with Texas, Quinn Ewers, listed at 298.5, has come down to 293. I just think this is another scenario where they're not going to have to gas it up against Arkansas here. 298.5 yards, that's something that Ewers hasn't hit, again, in 3 of the last 4 as well. I just don't think this script fits it. And I also have an underlean on Trey Wisner, running back for Texas. Last game, he only got 4 carries. He went for 0 yards, caught 4 passes, which is really what they were doing last game. But gosh, you're going to tell me that after Jarek Gibson, true freshman, comes out, runs for 99 yards and a touchdown last game, gets 16 carries. Also, you have Jaden Blue there, who's catching passes and just as an all-purpose weapon out of the backfield. I just think with a 3-man backfield, you got to get him up to, now you can find him at 69.5 yards on Bally's, 63.5 across the spectrum. I think that could be too many yards. I'm going to go under on Trey Wisner.
I like that look on Wisner. Arkansas, but you mentioned how loaded the Texas, well, I don't know if I want to say loaded, how muddled the Texas backfield is with the running backs, and they churn through them. And we've seen different RB1s and different usage rates in different games. I like that one. You also have the thing where Arkansas, the strength of their defense, decidedly, it's the run defense. And they're able to make teams one-handed. It's kind of like a poor man's Tennessee offense in some ways, as far as the run defense goes. Texas, they're a team. I can't get my finger on them yet, or I should say the ceiling of Texas it's hard to know how high that is. Like in December, they didn't play anybody. Then they throttled a couple of injury decimated teams, Oklahoma and Florida. They got spanked by Georgia at home. And then they had the scare against Vanderbilt. It's a team, they have some susceptibility in their run defense. If you let Arkansas move the chains with the run, they can then start to get the free looks for their passing game with Talon Green. Bobby Petrino, the offensive coordinator, one of the sport's best play callers. He has had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, looking over the tape. Diego Pavia rushed for 67 yards and a touchdown in that Vanderbilt against Texas game. And Froton, you mentioned that Talon Green, the knee being what it is. We'll see what percentage he is coming off of that bye. They have gotten time to get healthy, but I think you can also see sub-package play here with the Singleton or whatever coming in off the bench and running around. For all those reasons, I like Arkansas in this game. And, you think about it, flipping the field to the other side. If Texas's run game is as hampered by Arkansas as I think it will be, Quinn Ewers, the game goes into his hands. He's been struggling recently, as Froton mentioned, at least one interception in 4 straight games for Quinn Ewers. I like Texas to stay within this number. It's come down now to 13. I would still take the 13 there. Moving on to our next one in an ACC matchup here, another line that has moved. We have more quarterback news in this one, definitively in this case. Clemson traveling to Pittsburgh today. This line was 9.5 for a decent part of the week. It is now shot up to Clemson minus 12.5. And the reason for that is we got word this morning it was heading this way, but we've now gotten a definitive report. I believe it was from Pete Thamel reported. Eli Ace Holstein Froton will not be playing today for Pitt, which means we're going to get the backup Nate Yarnell, who has not looked good when we have seen Mr. Yarnell and in the past and in his brief samples. And also Kanata Mumfield has been banged up. He got knocked out of the last game, didn't return. He's questionable for this game. So you have big questions on the Pitt offensive side. And then Clemson, their injury report looking a little bit better. They have their left tackles day to day. And then Dabo said that Tyler Brown is week to week, but he had looked good in practice. But they're pretty close to full strength, where Pitt will decidedly not be in this game. This line, again, shot up to Clemson minus 12.5. Froton, with all that in mind, how do you see this one?
Yeah, and with the Eli Holstein news, that has really kind of tanked the props markets. We hadn't had anything on Pittsburgh all week for their passing game. No Mumfield, no Johnson, no Holstein. And this is really why, because the books didn't really want to go and stick their necks out where they might not get Ace Holstein. Instead, you might get Nate Rebel Yarnell, which we will bet more, as Billy Idol once sang. So there really isn't a lot on that side. Klubnik opened at 246. He's up to around 253, 255 right now. That's kind of a natural progression when you figure it's going to be hard for Pitt to move the ball. Desmond Reed, the star running back for Pitt, listed at 69.5 yards, 70, right around that benchmark. I think, I had a hard time with this. I kind of kicked it around. Under normal circumstances, I probably would be entertaining an over here, but with Clemson likely to be keying on the run game and just daring Nate Yarnell to throw, he's gone under this mark 3 of the last 5 games. He hit 80 last game against UVA. They lost that game. Against Clemson's run D, which is a lot better than Virginia's, I'm going to say I'm going to stay away on that. Nothing you can really play here, in my opinion, due to the Eli Holstein factor. Maybe you take a speculative over on Klubnik, but that's about all I got here. Muddled props environment for this game.
Indeed. Yeah. If Holstein was playing, my line on this would have been Clemson minus 7.5. I'm not saying that Holstein, the drop off from him to Yarnell is worth 5 points, but I am saying I'm not comfortable betting Pitt with Yarnell starting and with the status of Mumfield not being 100%. They have to win with their offense. And Clemson, the defense has been solid this year. The only thing that they have really struggled with, we've targeted this in props a couple times at Froton. This probably informed your breakdown of the Pitt running back. who's a little squirty, bursty kind of a guy. Clemson allows too many explosive runs. But in this game, like you said, if they're not concerned about the pass and they can put more guys in the box early on, maybe they can button that thing up. But the rest of the defense has been really solid. The matchup of Yarnell against the Clemson pass defense is enormously skewed towards Clemson. So yeah, you got issues there. This is probably a stay away for me where this line has gotten. Again, I can't trust Yarnell in there as much as I would love to fade Clemson. I don't think you can do it in this spot. And I agree with your breakdown of the prop market that because of the health status here, it makes it a little bit muddled. And if Yarnell starts to struggle and the game script flips to Clemson takes a big early lead, all of a sudden your prop handicaps can get wonky when the game script flips like that. People recall the Pitt game against Syracuse where Kyle McCord threw 3 first half pick sixes, and then the game script for all the player props just got thrown up into the air. That would be my concern. So I'm gonna stay away from that one as well. I'm mentioning my lines as we go throughout here. Those are updated on FantasyLife every Monday, as are my win projections for the season. We use that in betting the futures market. Anyone out there, you want 20% off the tier 2 subscription to FantasyLife, code Thor20 gets you that 20% off. Thor20. Froton, let's head to the G5 for a second. This is a fun matchup. Tulane heading to Navy. The line on this one, we have gotten it up to 7. Most of the week it was 6 with beneath that, and now we've gotten up to the touchdown. Interesting matchup here. Tulane, they have managed to stay sort of out of the limelight of the G5 discussion when we're talking about the playoffs because of the rise of Army and Navy and what Boise State is doing, etc. But Tulane, very impressive season so far. First year for John Summerall taking over there, the former Troy coach. They've been playing well for Froton. Now they head to Navy, 7-point favorite on the road. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, and this is styles make fights, just
sure
like
do.
we found out last night. There wasn't much style.
What is Mike Tyson's style right now?
Yeah, Mike Tyson's style is enjoying retirement. That's what he should be, as he should be as a 58-year-old man. I couldn't go and jump in that ring for 8 rounds. Yeah, I could, but I mean, That being said, when it comes to Navy, obviously came out really hot this game in terms of the season, but last few games after that Notre Dame game, which obviously before bouncing back against that USF team last week to beat them 28-7 and that's a team that's just sort of in quarterback disarray. The Byron Brown experiment is quarterback Blake Horvath. It's tough to see, what they're going to do in the passing game. Only threw 11 passes last game against South Florida. Didn't need to. Against Rice, they needed to. Against Notre Dame, they needed to. It's just a question of, what they're going to try to do. He's at a pretty, 118.5 is what we're seeing out there right now. Forgive me, but I kind of like the under there. This is a lean. It's not enough pace with their up to and bring it into the muck, which is where they really thrive there in Annapolis. So I got to lean on that under 118.5 on Blake Horvath in a run-oriented script for Navy.
I agree with that. Yeah, that is. It feels like. So that if Navy is to stay competitive in this game, that is what they're going to have to pick on. But Tulane can hinder the efficiency with that. So
an excellent pass D. They're 4th in the nation in EPA per drop back. It's like schematically, it doesn't make
one shot. But yeah, Tulane, the pass defense has been really solid this year. The my line on this game is Tulane minus 4.8, minus 5 basically. I still couldn't. I don't think I could take Navy rushing in this game. How do you see that one against a Navy run defense that has shown some susceptibility?
Yeah, dude, this has been the engine of their offense. Mekhi Hughes. They have Vidal.
Mm-hmm.
You knew where I was going with that. Your boy,
my boy,
Kamani Vidal.
Yep.
They rode him hard and put him away wet. And we've seen a similar trend with Hughes. Last game, $153 against Temple. They did whatever they wanted. $117 against Charlotte. They beat him 34-3. Didn't even have to do much with him, right? And he still had 27 catches. He is literally, we saw that Kamani Vidal led the nation in half to, as we said, anywhere you can go. I would not blame you if have an over script for Hughes. He's crushed this 4 of the past 5 games that he's at right now.
Yeah, and speaking to that sort of funnel idea against Navy's defense, Navy's pass defense is 33rd in EPA per dropback. Navy's run defense, 102nd in rushing success rate, number 80th in yards. That's how you attack Navy, is on the ground. And this week, happy birthday to Mike. He asks us, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm sorry, guys.
We're all in our 40s now. Hughesman asks us, BYU is only minus 2.5 at home against Kansas. I think the 3-6 Jayhawks have a shot. What do you guys think? Froton, I'll let you start with this.
Oh, you're gonna let me start?
You know where my heart is. My heart's always been in Lawrence. You cut me open, I'm gonna bleed blue and red, crimson and blue.
Buddy, that was red meat for you, and you're tossing it over to me. All right, I mean, I'll eat if you want me to here. As we know with your Kansas team, Thor, while they are 3-6, what they have done is just breed close games. Like, if they're scoring, you're not going to stop them. But they are, I mean, in terms of excitement, if you're going to a Kansas Jayhawks game, it's going to be exciting.
For better or worse.
You're going to be in your seat until the fourth quarter. You won't be leaving early. And that's what is kind of they're looking at here with this BYU team. Obviously, the Cinderella team, basically the Washington, the TCU of this season, you could argue. But against Kansas, last game, they've won 2 of their last 3. Kansas smoked Houston 42-14. Went out there against Iowa State. Wasn't undefeated, unfortunately. They had 1 loss. They gave them their second loss, 45-36. They're playing good ball, and they only lost by 2 against Kansas State, which is, obviously they're there in a legitimate contender for the Big 12 title. I have a little nervousness about this spot. I lean Kansas with the points, but I'm going to let you take the rest of this story. You tell me what you think. And Jeff,
clock is striking midnight for the BYU Cougars tonight. Kansas is going in there and upsetting BYU. Froton, get all the way on board. This is happening tonight. Kansas has been the unluckiest team in the nation. And part of it, you make your own luck, you make your own bad luck. There has been bonehead turnovers at the end of games that they should have won, which is why Kansas has lost. I think it's 5 of their 6 losses have come by 6 points or less. And in most of them, in the most devastating, heartbreaking fashion possible. Against Kansas State, it was, you had the ball with like 2 minutes left with the lead. And then Jalen Daniels chokes the ball away on a scramble, gives the ball back to Kansas State. They hit a last-second field goal. And you could go on and on and on with this. Kansas, by second-order wins, instead of 3-6, they have 5.1 second-order wins. So 2 wins better qualitatively than that, whereas BYU, it's the complete opposite. Whether weird calls or weird stuff happening in some of the end of these games, they turn the game into coin flips that they happen to be able to win. Now, with the more points, you might feel better. I don't care. I'm taking the money line. At some point, you regress to the mean with the bad luck and the good luck. And Kansas, these past 3 games, they are clearly still giving effort. That was the one thing that you were concerned about when they started 1-5. But the last 3 games, Froton mentioned, you drum Houston, you lose to Kansas State by 2 again, a game that they probably should have won Kansas if they just could have held on to the ball with a lead at the very end. And then Iowa State, it was a 9-point win. They beat Iowa State worse than that. That was right from the jump. They controlled that game. They dominated that game. And Kansas finished that game with an 88% post-game win expectancy. I like Kansas in that one. And Kansas can also run the ball, where BYU, their defensive weakness, it is run defense. The pass defense for BYU is the good thing. But like I said, I think the luck is running out for BYU tonight. Gene, welcome in.
Hey, Gene.
What's up, fellas? What's up, everybody out there? I apologize. You know how it goes. Sometimes things don't work the way you want them to work. It's interesting, though. I wanted to jump in because what do you, Thor? Because I know you follow them so closely. What do you think happened to Kansas early in the year, where they were playing so not like themselves, that all of a sudden now they're a contender to beat anybody in the Big 12?
I think the big thing was switching from Andy Kotelnicki, who left for Penn State to be their offensive coordinator, to Jeff Grimes. Grimes is not as good as Kotelnicki just qualitatively, but I also think there was a big shift of the philosophy. You know, Kotelnicki, it's a ton of the pre-snap motion, and then it is trying to have the defense looking one way. Now the ball's going the other way. In the run game, sometimes it's hard for the second and third level defenders to come down right away because you don't know where the ball is. They'll have two backs in the backfield. They'll have the quarterback that can run. And that sort of stuff was just manufacturing yards with the scheme, and it made Jalen Daniels' job a lot easier. The Jeff Grimes system is different than that, and his play calling is more vanilla and predictable. And I think Daniels was having a hard time acclimating, and I would even argue overcoming the discrepancy there and the change. Yeah, and so in these high, I mean, like overall, the team was playing close to as good as we thought for, most. I mean, they were playing teams like, UNLV and who's a solid team. Illinois is a solid team. West Virginia is okay. TCU, Arizona State. I mean, all these teams are 500 or above, but they were, as these games that would be close at the end and then just have these devastating turnovers in high leverage situations. But it appears that they have buttoned that up and continuing to play like they have. You're able to catch some of these teams. Now, BYU is going to be ready because Kansas has won 2 or 3 games. I just think Kansas might be the better team than BYU. And if we just had a little bit of regression luck the other way for both of them, these teams could be pretty close to flipped in the standings. Do you guys like a particular side in Baylor, West Virginia? Thanks as always. Boys, any thoughts on Baylor, West Virginia?
Gene, you want to hop in and get it?
Yeah, my first inclination is Baylor, right? That's right off the top of my head when I see it. I'm, okay, Baylor. But like both of those teams have been a little bit, wishy-washy sometimes when it comes to these types of matchups. I actually think this is a good this is going to be a good game because both of these teams I think match up well versus each other. I would give the slight lean to Baylor. I think that they do more things well defensively than West Virginia. And then I also think that that Baylor looks at West Virginia like they're the better team, if that makes any sense. Like if we're just looking at confidence matters a lot in football. And I think that when you look at both sides, Baylor is going to look at West Virginia like, all right, we're going to do what we have to do in this game and get these guys out of there. Where I don't know if West Virginia feels that same way about Baylor. Maybe they do because I'm not on the inside, but I would lean Baylor there. Not a game that I would be betting, but I would definitely give a lean to Baylor in that game.
Yeah, so we're right around Pick-Em here, and so is my system. Like literally, I have Baylor minus 1/10 of a point, and about as close as my system gets to the true Pick-Em there. Garrett Green is coming back today for West Virginia, although the backup Marischal helped them to upset. Was it last week? UCF? I forget, but Garrett Green is coming back now.
Yeah,
Cincinnati.
Yeah,
that's right. We did get our overs on Sorsby and Henderson though. That two-step
right, we did.
So yeah, we were excited about that. Froton, do you want to hit your? I know you do have a play in this game, but I'll just leave the floor to you.
I'll save the play until later. It is my torpedo, but I will say, yeah, I definitely have a strong lean on Baylor, even though it's on the road. And a lot of it has to do with, as we talked about before, the imbalanced defenses. West Virginia is bleeding red ink all over the page when it comes to their pass defense.
Travesty of a pass defense.
One of the apex worst in the Power Four.
Which is why we run the Sorsby Henderson double dip.
That's right. That's why we did it. And Henderson made it interesting. He just got over there, but fine, we'll take it. I'm not complaining at all. Tony Johnson looked good over there too for Cincinnati. That being said, with Baylor, they rank 14th nationally in pass plays of 20-plus yards, 7th in total raw QBR. And going up against the West Virginia pass defense that, as alluded to, 130th in EPA per dropback, 134th in first downs per completion. They 2/3 of the time that they complete a pass, it's for a first down. Like that is astronomical. They're just allowing teams to do whatever they want through the air. And on the other side, you got Baylor and Sawyer Robertson, who's just been a revelation. They had DeQuan Finn as their starter last year under Jeff Grimes, Thor, your
boy.
boy, offensive coordinator now for Kansas. They move out Jeff Grimes and bring in Jake Spavital, and he has really revamped that passing offense and juiced it up pretty considerably. I mean, they scored over 50 against Texas Tech 2 games ago, 38 and 39 each of the past 2. So it's like this offense is humming. Won their last 3 games. This Baylor team is hitting their stride right now. Aranda Collin plays on defense. Man, I cannot back West Virginia with Garrett Green and his inaccuracy.
Froton, I didn't want to interrupt you while you were going, but I am so disappointed in you for missing the opportunity to say it got hairy for Henderson.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. Well,
yeah, it was right there for you.
Connoisseurs around here. We all love the Yeti for Harry and the Henderson.
We love John Lithgow, too.
I do love John Lithgow. I got to see John Lithgow at the 2005 Harvard commencement deliver the commencement address for Harvard University. My girlfriend at the time was going to school there. So thank you, John Lithgow.
Did you do the applesauce thing to get her? Was that?
What did I do? Yeah.
Sorry.
No. It was I got her at a 70s party. I had on my hair was pretty flagrant. I was peacocking apparently, and that got her attention.
Oh, and now you're an NBC.
The 70s hair. Yeah, here we are.
My hair was flagrant. That's hilarious. That is a fantastic way to describe your hair, I must say.
We've seen my hair get flagrant at times.
I'm going as you for Halloween next year for a time. Yeah. Jacob here's asks, how do you guys feel about Oregon minus 13.5 against Wisconsin? I'll kick this one off. My line's Oregon minus 12.1. I was thinking a little bit about Wisconsin in this one, but I ended up staying away. Jordan James, we'll see, his status in this game, but you can attack Wisconsin on the ground. Some of those things being up in the air and this line being so close to the margins, that's why I ended up staying away. Did any of you guys got any action on that one?
Yeah, I love this for Oregon. I think that what we have to start doing is understanding the climate of the Big Ten, which is there are a couple teams or a few teams that are good, and then the rest of the teams, that little middle of the pack is a middle of the pack full of not good football teams, right? Like it's just not as strong as it's been in the past in that middle. And quite frankly, Oregon's been feasting on that. If you look at the opponents that Wisconsin, if you're taking common opponents, if you're taking play style, if you're taking pace of play, if you're looking at how they perform at home versus on the road, all of the metrics point towards Oregon. And in games where one team is clearly better than the other, it can be a 7-point game for 3 quarters, and at some point one team's going to make a mistake, and boom, it's 14. Boom, it's 21. That's what's been happening. Or they jump out early, and then things snowball, and it's a blowout. We've seen Wisconsin beat by 14 points or more versus teams that are not Oregon. Oregon knows that they have no, even being number one or being at the top. You can't, like the way that this thing is set up now, which I like, you can't take your foot off the gas on these because style matters now, right? Style matters, and Oregon has a better style. They want to continue to march towards their Big Ten championship. I think that they run away with this versus Wisconsin.
Froton, you have any action in that one?
Yeah, I actually like the team total. Actually, not team total. The first half spread minus 7.5 for Oregon. I think they jump out pretty quick and don't look back. This is not going to be a close game. You look what they did to Michigan in their 17th ranked defense. Put up 38-17, 39-18 against Maryland, 38-9 against Illinois. I mean, this Oregon team is humming over the past few. I just don't see any way that Wisconsin's going to be able to stay close. And I do have a little lean on our friend, Braden Locke, who is the quarterback for Wisconsin. Has become known as the Braden Locke interception. It's juiced to minus 220 right now, which is pretty high. But if you are playing on any of the parlay apps, Prize Picks, Underdog, any of those, Braden Locke is out there at 11.95 fantasy points. There is no way he's scoring 12 fantasy points against this Oregon defense. That is simply not happening. I like the under fantasy points on Braden Locke for a little twist if you're out there on those parlay apps.
Lock it up. The Onion Man asks us thoughts on Carson Beck under pass yards. Took it at 263.5 a few days ago. Feels like Georgia won't want to put the ball in Beck's hands in a positive or even neutral game script. So for me with Carson Beck, and I can jump off what Froton was just saying, we love our interception props. I say this every single week. It's been free money now for a long time. Take the over half an interception for Carson Beck. We keep riding this train until it comes off the tracks.
Yeah, baby.
Last 6 games for Carson Beck, 12 interceptions. 12 interceptions.
And they play in Tennessee.
And by the way, during that stretch, I believe he has, or maybe this is that 3 or 4 game stretch, but Carson Beck hasn't had a big time throw charted by PFF like in a month. Like, it's getting bad. And then the other thing, the pressure rate that is started to come in on, like, it's mostly his fault, but it's not all his fault. The offensive line has started to deteriorate a bit for Georgia as well. And so the pressure rate has been extremely elevated over the last month of play compared to what it was before then for Georgia. We're going to be talking more about this game later in the show. We're going to be breaking it down. But in lieu of taking the pass yard one, because we could lose that one on volume if Tennessee is able to take a second half lead, which I don't want to give too much of a spoiler alert away, but I do like Tennessee in that game. Then, I mean, that's just what Georgia does. They throw, and Tennessee's run defense is awesome. Did you guys have any follow-ups, or should we save them for later on that one? We'll save them for later because we're talking about that game anyway. We got Dan Sendas us. What are your thoughts on Rutgers versus Maryland? Anyone have a play on Rutgers versus Maryland? The Fighting Shianos?
No real lean on that one. No real lean. Maybe Maryland. I don't know. I'm agnostic.
My line on that one is
agnostic.
Right on the vague. I got Maryland minus 5.3. I think I'm right around where it is. I didn't have anything on that one either. Steve Jackson asks us, how is Coach Clemons feeling about the service academies today? Is the stimulus package up and running again today, Gene?
So the stimulus package is always running. It's not my coach's corner pick today. It's not.
Gene has turned around the economy with this stimulus package.
Listen, I've been fueling the economy in more ways than one. Thank you to the service academies once again for their contributions to my pocketbook. I will say though, this Navy Tulane game to me feels like one of those games that has overwritten on it. It's one of those things where Tulane plays just decent defense versus teams like this, where Navy will be able to move the ball and put the ball in the end zone. I don't think Navy's defense is nowhere near Army's defense. And that's why Army has been able to kind of pull away or keep these close games in their favor, and why Navy has not. So I think Tulane will be able to score versus Navy. Navy will be able to score versus Tulane. This thing has overwritten all over me, all over it. I have it in the bet tracker. Make sure you go there and check out our best bets on FantasyLife. But I have that as an over game, which means that the stimulus does keep going. Yeah. I just have a couple of other plays that I really, really like as well. So I'm going to put those as the coach's corner today. Yeah, you can put it on the board when it comes to those.
The stimulus package and crypto, the two things just going up this week.
College football and crypto. Now you're in my world.
Hey, it's funny too because I have Dogecoin. Don't tell me why. Don't ask me why I have Dogecoin, but I have
Did we just become best friends?
I have an ignorant amount of Dogecoin. And I've literally thought about cashing out because there's I don't think that we're going to see another jump.
Gene, it's just like the Service Academy stimulus package. You never cash out. You
never cash out. You just let it go down and go up and go down and go up. Yeah, but exactly. I really, really do like the over in that Tulane Navy game. I think both defenses are going to struggle to stop those offenses, especially with only a week to prepare.
We need Gene at the Department of Government Efficiency.
Clemons 2028. Clemons 2028. Let's get it going.
Department of Sports Betting Efficiency.
Right.
Gene mentioned where you can find our best bets. I got questions about that. I've been getting questions about that, like how you find it on the site. If you go to FantasyLife, there's a drop down where it says betting, and then the drop down of NCAA football, and then you click on best bets, and then you can click on, there's like a thing where you can click on our names, and it will show you like the bets that we make like in the moment. For player prop bettors, you want to fill out your cards of, the prize picks and the underdog and all that stuff. I got a ton of prop picks every single week. You want to, go through there and augment your stuff. So that's an important page. You can find a whole bunch of stuff there. Guys, last audience question, then we're going to get back to, we have 3 games happening this afternoon and night, and then we'll bring on Bainbridge. But the last one, and just a quick hitter here, guys, if you got anything. Steven Siragusa, the Goose, he asked us LSU or Florida today. And we Florida appeared to get some good health news, which is good because they were playing their JV team last week, but it looks like Legway is coming back. Montrell Johnson, I haven't seen the update today, but they got a couple dudes coming back. Did either of you guys just quickly have anything on that game?
Well, Montrell Johnson, this is how we do it, right? Like this is how we do it.
Yeah.
I know it's not Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. Don't
it's Jordan,
me.
But it's
I
close
know it's
enough.
Jordan, but it was close enough to make
it was close enough.
Singing in, right?
Yeah. Great chance.
I think LSU takes care of business today. I do think Florida will put up a better fight than they put up last week, obviously. With some people returning, but I just think LSU's desperate for a win right now. The coach needs a win so that people don't start talking about firing the coach. The quarterback needs a win so that people don't just bring up the fact that he's not Jaden Daniels. Everybody needs a win right now. I think they'll come out focused. I think they'll get the job done today.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd probably lean that way with the news we got. And all right, boys, we're gonna get back into 3 other games, but keep typing your audience questions. And particularly player prop and DFS questions, because we're going to be bringing up Bainbridge the next time we open that mailbag. But boys, let's run through our last 3 games here in the next 20 minutes. We'll go back to the SEC. This is a 4:15 Eastern kickoff. South Carolina hosting Missouri. We have had some health stuff here as well that has informed some line movement that we got. We're now at South Carolina minus 13. On Sunday, it was South Carolina minus 14. There was times during the week where it was like 12.5, but it looks like we've settled in there. And on the injury front for South Carolina, it looks like their safety DQ Smith is going to come back. He was upgraded to probable for this game. He had gotten knocked out last week. And then they have a depth defensive tackle, DeAndre Jules, coming back for this game as well. On the Missouri side, Connor Tollison, their starting center, appears to be out for the season, although the backup has been, by PFF grading, and his looks has been better than Tollison. So we'll see on that one. I'll kick this off, and then I'll kick it over to Gene. I took the 14 points with Missouri on Saturday, and with 13, I think I still take that with Missouri. If it's beneath 13, that's where I'd start to get a little bit more trepidatious, but Brady Cook, the last injury note here, it appeared that he was going to be out, but now today the reporters are like, no, trust me, he's actually going to be a game time decision, and he's going to be warming up, and then he'll decide whatever. Regardless of who the quarterback is, this is my play. Whether we get Drew Pine or him, I understand the trepidation of whether it's less than 100% Brady Cook or it's Drew Pine against that fearsome South Carolina pass rush, which is for real, number 3 in the nation in sacks per dropback. But Missouri has a good pass rush as well. They're 17th in the nation in sacks per dropback. It's just that South Carolina's offensive line is way, way worse. The one thing that Beamer has not been able to figure out there yet, South Carolina's offense, 133rd in the nation in sacks per dropback allowed. Whereas Missouri, I mean, it's not like they're great, but they're far better than that, 78th. So I think you might have a sneaky situation here where Missouri's pass rush actually in this game is better than South Carolina's because of that. I think with Missouri, regardless of who's playing quarterback, it's the run game and then the quick hitting passes, which is their prerogative anyway. I mean, Brady Cook and Drew Pine do not have howitzers for arms. It's the short stuff. You need to manufacture the looks for Luther Burden. Luther Burden, his number is pretty low here at the sports books. I'm taking the over. I think it was in the high 40s. And I like Missouri as well. South Carolina's offense is not good enough to be laying this kind of number. That's my take. Gene, where are you at on this game?
I'm right here with you. I don't understand why anyone thinks that either one of these, it really truly either one of these teams are blowing or beating the other one by essentially 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me because they both have legitimate like issues, right? When it comes to playing the game. I think that this game is one of those that is going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes, right? And that could be either way, but I'm definitely going to take 13 points from Missouri if I have to bank on South Carolina beating them by 2 touchdowns. I will say this though. I'll give South Carolina this. It's one of the best environments in college football. South Carolina knows how to put a party on.
Yeah.
Like when you go over there for a Gamecocks game, they know how to put a party on. They fully like support their team. They're going to be hype. But ultimately, I think decent weather and a more of a grinded out game is going to allow Missouri to keep this thing closer than what the experts apparently think with this 13 points. So I'll take the 13 points and I'll have, I mean, they're Missouri. That's close enough. That's a show me state, right? Like they can just show me that they can beat me by 2 touchdowns. I don't see it happening.
Froton, any prop angles for you in that one?
Yeah, we have the video game freak himself, Nicholas Harbor. We have a line on him, first time all year. Last game against Vandy, caught 3 passes for 43 yards, but he has only cleared this 26.5 yards mark one other time.
24.5 now at underdog for a time.
24.5. Actually, this opened at 29.5. I hopped on it right away. Down to 24.5. I'm seeing a 26 out there. I believe it was on Sleeper. So, whatever it might be. He's only cleared 24, 26, 20 twice all season. As with South Carolina as well, not the most prolific passing offense with Missouri, 7th in terms of passing success rate allowed. Again, South Carolina is in the hundreds. I think it's 104th in that metric. They want to run the ball with Raheem Sanders. Clearly, the past 2 games, that's been everything they've wanted to do, and they've been successful with it. Won each of those past 2 games. I don't think you're going to see them putting the ball into Lenoris Sellers' hands.
Peter Sellers.
Lenoris Peter Sellers. That's right. Absolutely. Yep. Huge Kubrick fan, Peter Sellers, of course. But I'm taking the under on Nicholas Harbor and his 24.5 receiving yards. Only hit it twice all season. Show me.
I don't. Someone's going to have to do a paper for me about why Nick Harbor is not better, why they don't give him the ball more. I don't really understand. Last year as a true freshman, 195 receiving yards. This year, as a sophomore, 14 catches for 147 yards. That kid's the best athlete in college football. I legitimate freak, 6'5", 235, and is one of the fastest. I mean, in the NCAA game, he is the fastest player with the best acceleration, and is like a sprinting champion. They need to figure that out. Like Nick Harbor is going to go into the NFL. We're like never having top 500 yards, and he's going to be like a first round pick. Legitimate freaky athleticism, and I don't know what's going on there. The passing attack, not the best, but figure out a way to get Nick Harbor the ball. Although I am mad at him now because in our online dynasty where I'm South Carolina, he transferred out on me after the second year, despite the fact that I made him an All-American the first year. I was just pounding him with targets.
DK
NIL, buddy.
He's going to DK Metcalf the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, was highly upset, but it is what it is. Boys, moving to our next one, Kansas State hosting Arizona State tonight in the weird, wild West Big 12 environment that we got. These would be 2 of your dark horse teams. Kansas State favored by 7.5 in this one. Gene, who do you like in this Big 12 tilt?
Yeah, like Kansas State at home, Arizona State playing well. I lean towards Kansas State in this game. The 7.5 definitely scares me. The hook scares me. I'm always afraid of the hook. I try to buy the hook anytime I get an opportunity. For anyone out there that wants to understand, like the hook is them setting you up for failure, right?
Blues Traveler saying about it.
Gene. What's that?
Blues Traveler saying about it.
Oh, very true. Very true.
Brings you back.
And
brings you back.
And Cool Breeze rapped about it as well. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Atlanta rapper Cool Breeze, but he has a song that's called "Watch for the Hook." Better listen to your corner and watch for the hook, right? Arizona State, I think, is live in here, live dog, a live opportunity to win this thing outright. I think Kansas State, if they get their running game going the right way, has an opportunity. But I'm going to tell you what the difference is for me. I am not a believer. I'm not a believer in your boy.
Which one?
As much as well, yeah, I know, right? You have a lot of boys. For me, the quarterback for Kansas State,
Avery Johnson.
Avery Johnson. I feel like there's just a lot more hype than there is production, like legit production. I think that when they lose games, it's because of him, right? It's usually because he did something or didn't play to the level that he should play to, or that he has the skills and ability to play to. I do think he is a talent, and I do think that he will be, if he stays and he continues to progress, he's going to be good. I just don't think he is there yet. I don't think he's there yet. Now they are coming off of a bye week, so they've had a chance to kind of get some things right. But I would lean towards Arizona State in this contest, because I think that Arizona State is playing the better football right now. I think Kansas State was very lucky to get past Kansas a few weeks ago.
Sure were.
I think that losing to Houston is an atrocity that you can't just walk by, because Houston's not good, even though I believe in Willie Fritz, and I think that their year 2 turnaround might be a Deion Sanders level year 2 turnaround. Watch for that in 2025. And so I think Arizona State's playing better football. I'm going to lean towards Arizona State, especially with that hook.
Froton, so Scatterbo, it looks like now it looks like he might play in this game. We have some. Yeah, you have that. Kansas State does have the good run defense. So we'll see. And then on the Kansas State side, they've been throwing a bit more in recent weeks, with the aforementioned Avery Johnson. And I think I don't know what to say here, but I think Avery Johnson, that's what he wants to do, and the coaching staff is allowing him to do it a bit more. And I think if they don't, he might consider his options this offseason. I'll put it that way. With that being said, with the prop market, where are you going in this game?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I have to call this out.
Yeah.
ESPN bet. I don't know who on earth is the person that is putting out the names on these props. Yeah. But on my dashboard, when we're looking at the props, they list random guys that don't exist. ESPN bet is like going to play like baseball stars, like the old, or you know what? NCAA football. We have random guys' names that are in there. That's what ESPN bet is. Who is TJ Sanders on South Carolina? Is that supposed to be Raheem Sanders? Let me ask you this about Arizona State, since we're on it. Who is Plas Johnson? Plas Johnson. He plays for Arizona State. Apparently, he has a line of 34.5 rushing yards out there.
Okay.
I don't know what ESPN bet's doing. They can't even spell people's names. This is pathetic. Okay, sorry. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That's spell. Who's putting these props out? TJ Sanders?
Yeah. See, you no plays outside of bashing
I'm just upset with ESPN bet and what they're doing out there. KJ Jackson who is KJ Jackson for Arkansas? Do you mean Jaquindon Jackson? Because there's no KJ Jackson. I'm sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. I don't know what ESPN bet's doing.
Yeah, my lean on this one would be towards the Kansas State side. My line on this thing is Kansas State minus 10.7. Scatterbo being back would definitely help Arizona State. They're going to need him, but that is the strength of the Kansas State defense. Where you can get Kansas State is through the air, and that's always been my question about Arizona State. most of their passing offense is also funneled through Cam Scatterbo when he's on the field, right? It's a lot of risk-averse type passing, and when they go to the air to a boundary guy, which they're like 125th in the nation in percentage of passes going to boundary receivers, they only throw to one. It's Tyson Chicken, right? I mean, that's the only dude who gets the looks in that thing. I mean, even for a bad pass defense, it's easy enough to know what they're doing. And based on the look, you generally know where the ball is going if Levitt pulls it back. I think Kansas State can contend with that. I like Kansas State. You know, you have some trepidations there. Kansas State, they've been up, they've been down, they've been up, they've been down. At least Arizona State, you got to tip your cap to Dillingham. They have been fairly consistent even through some of these injuries, but I just think that they're outclassed in that one. So I'm gonna lean towards Kansas State. And boys, we have reached the game of the day. And for the audience, keep putting your questions in, particularly DFS and player prop questions, because we're going to call up Mike Bainbridge in about 6-7 minutes. But the last game that we had on the docket to discuss before then, again, game of the day, Georgia hosting Tennessee. This one, the line had gotten up to 10. I think it was on Wednesday after Chris Fallica said on Tuesday night that Nico Iamaleava was still in concussion protocol and he didn't think he was going to play. But all the other indications we had gotten, it seemed positive that Iamaleava was going to play. Kirby Smart said on Wednesday he expected him to play. Now it appears that Nico is going to play. Now we have a bunch of reports out there. That's on the Tennessee side. And other good news for Tennessee, Dylan Sampson and Dante Thornton, it both looks like they're going to play. In particular, Dylan Sampson, obviously very important because Tennessee's run him more than they ever have under Josh Heupel. So that's what we got there. And then on the Georgia side, Trevor Etienne is going to be out for this game on the Georgia side. So we're going to get Nate Frazier again, the young running back there. He's going to have to carry the load against an elite Tennessee defense. This line now, Gene, has come down to Georgia -9 as we move in here on game day. Who do you like in this one?
I just haven't seen a Georgia. I haven't seen a Georgia team in a while that I feel comfortable giving up anything over a touchdown to. I know what they did. I know what they did, a few weeks ago. I just live in the present, and in the present right now, like, who is this Georgia team? What's their identity? Why are they not making the most offensively out of all of these 4- and 5-star guys they get every single year? They spend more money in recruiting than anyone else in the nation. And I just don't quite get why they haven't been able to come up with consistency offensively. They're going and getting anybody that they possibly can in the world to come run the football for them, and yet they still aren't consistent running the football. They have all of these weapons outside, yet they're still not consistent passing the football. They think that Carson Beck is the next coming of Joe Montana, and yet he can't stop throwing the ball to other teams. I don't quite get it. I think that this is a situation where Tennessee, if Nico is in fact well enough to where he's not going to be out there being a liability to the team, I think this is an opportunity for them to come in and pull the outright upset over Georgia. I'm going for Tennessee to pull the upset on the road at Georgia. I think Georgia's reeling. I think this is panic time down in Athens. I like Tennessee to pull it off.
I'm with Gene on this one. I took the 9.5 with Tennessee on Sunday, and even if the backup was going, I still like that. I said that on the show earlier this week. With getting Nico, this line still being above 7, I think that's a big time buy. Froton, you thinking about this game from the player prop angle, you have the Tennessee defense utterly elite, number 3 SP plus overall. And it is probably the nation's best run defense, number 4 success rate, number 1 EPA per dropback. But Tennessee pass defense has gotten a lot better since last season. Part of the reason that the defense has become elite, number 18 success rate, number 5 in EPA per dropback. They have a really, really good pass rush as well, led by James Pierce, who's going to be a top 5 pick. And you have the Carson Beck thing and the Georgia offensive line devolving. And Carson Beck under duress, throwing picks, 12 in the last 6 games. It's almost unthinkable. With all that stuff being said and the constitution of both these defenses and the game script and a very interesting matchup here, how did you handicap the player props?
Yeah, and as you mentioned with Carson Beck, that is something that we certainly have to pay attention to when it comes to him. And with the interception, we got that listed at -120 for him to throw an interception.
Bet that
this year. I mean, that is just giving us almost 1-to-1 on an interception.
And they have to throw. It's Frazier, the true freshman against the nation's best run defense. They're not going to be able to run at all. This is Carson Beck throw game.
Correct. So you have to play that interception line. The fact that we're getting to -120, it's just too good. That's incredible. And you mentioned with Nate Frazier, you've seen him at around 73.5 is the high for him. As mentioned, we will not be seeing Trevor Etienne. He's going to get all the carries. Branson Robinson is back at practice, so we could see a little bit of him. But I mean, Frazier got most of the work last game. I don't have a play. I would probably lean under, but that's not a play for me. With Carson Beck, to piggyback on that, he's listed at 31.5 pass attempts. That in this sort of a game script against Tennessee's #1 in the country pass run defense. I mean, what are they going to do with no Trevor Etienne? They're going to be running it all the time? No.
Got to throw.
31.5 pass attempts is just absolutely unacceptable. Threw for 40 against Florida, 41 Texas, 48 Mississippi State, 50 against Alabama. He threw for 31 last game against Mississippi. He wanted to throw more. He just got sacked 7 times by Ole Miss's front. Georgia just could not handle them. Trying to throw more, he still even went with 21. They only scored 10 points. Against Tennessee, they're not even going to pretend to run the ball. They know they can't run the ball. It's just to keep the rush off of them. It's the only reason why they do it. They're going to have to rely on Carson Beck, good, bad, or indifferent. And that means a lot of pass attempts and an interception. 31.5 pass attempts is getting crushed. Take that over all day.
Agreed with that as well. The pass attempts and the interceptions, and we know one goes with the other.
Yeah,
it just is what it is. Yeah, Georgia does not have the great rushing offense as is, and you're up against the awesome run defense and ETM being out, et cetera, et cetera. I agree with Gene on the side. I'm taking the points with Tennessee. I think that they are live, beyond live in this game. So, but yeah, we both like the Vols in that one. We'll call up Mr. Bainbridge in a second, but Gene wanted to hit your FCS play of the day first.
Yeah, and I appreciate everybody that has rolled with me on these FCS plays. We've been pretty money on the FCS plays most of the year. If we do get clipped, it's normally because of some fluky touchdown at the end or somebody taking their foot off the gas, which is always the fear, when you're talking about any play. But this week, gentlemen, I'm hitching my wagon. I've got my pick out because I feel like there's gold in these here hills. There's gold out there, and I want all the gold. It's a Dakota's gold rush. I'm going to tell you, anytime that the Dakotas are all stacked up and lined up and ready to go, I'm thinking about playing them. I'm going to tell you why, right? We'll start here. North Dakota is playing South Dakota. This is a rival game very similar to the Dakota State rivalry. The only difference is North Dakota's not that good this year. And they're not by Dakota standards, right? Because it was proven to be on the other level, on the level of the other two Dakotas. They have been the who have been streamlining this thing.
We're getting Netflixed.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah.
Fellas, did y'all lose me right there?
Yeah.
Slightly. Yeah. Geez, there we go. We got Netflixed. We did it just, and it's funny. We were in the comment section. I guess we had a little issue a little bit earlier. Sorry, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Netflix, Tyson Paul, now us. What? Stop.
We're just calling back for we're just calling back for Netflix last night. That was a joke. Let's bring up Mike Bainbridge, and we'll talk some DFS and props. We can open back up that mailbag. Mr. Bainbridge, how you doing today,
Bruno?
I was so ready to hear Gene's pick there too, as well. He set that up perfectly.
I was too. I was wondering where we were going with that one, but we'll get Gene on for the end if the connection gets figured out. But Bainbridge, let's start talking about DFS. Give the people some of your plays today. Let's run through them, and then we'll get into player props.
Yeah, we'll dive in here. I would say here, couple of things just overall with the DFS slate this week. One, there was too many ACC teams on this slate. This is not really a fun slate. I think 9 of the 12 games, maybe 8, have ACC matchups in there. It's just too much. Okay, let's get some G5 teams on the slate. And then 2, I was asked this morning. There's no like game stack type game in this slate either. So I would just kind of pick and choose your players. Random, whichever games that you want. So no need to stack any of these games on the slate. But some of my core builds for this week, top plays, we'll start with one of those G5 teams that I suggested, which is Mekhi Hughes. Always a safe play. He is the only person that gets carries for Tulane. Navy has allowed 23 fantasy points to 2 of the last 3 starting running backs faced this season, and they are 113th in rush defense success rate. So I think you are locked into 25 carries with Mekhi Hughes. And then a guy that's kind of fallen off the radar just a little bit the last few weeks, but I think he'll show right back up this week. Ja'Cory Brooks for Louisville. Stanford's secondary is atrocious. Of the teams playing this week, Stanford allows the 9th most fantasy points to wide receivers. So really like Ja'Cory Brooks this week. I like the Louisville passing game if we're talking about props there. So those would be some of my core plays. Some guys in the mid-tier range. And I'm sure Froton has talked about this because he's starting him in the Kings Classic, I believe. Fernando Mendoza from Cal.
See, Latin lover.
Latin lover. They are just passing the ball. He's averaging 40 attempts, I think, over the last month. Even with a talented running back like Jaden Ott, they cannot run the football.
Jaden Ott is not talented. Javian Thomas is better than Jaden Ott. He's averaging 2.4 yards per carry. Worse than the Power 4. Screw Jaden Ott. Javian Thomas.
Enough, Froton, enough.
Even with 2 talented running backs, Cal still can't run the football, okay? So we like Fernando Mendoza as one of those middle tier quarterbacks. And then Katron Allen is only 4,900. A little wishy-washy this week with Nick Singleton. I think he participated in full most of the week, but he's probably not going to be needed much against Purdue in this matchup. And so Katron Allen at 4,900, easy to slot into your lineup. Couple bargain bin plays. Gunnar Helm, I don't understand why he's min priced at 3,100. He leads Texas in targets. Start him. And then Colorado wide receiver Will Shepard, 3,600. Again, top 3 receiver at Colorado, who's going to throw it 30 plus times. It is a little windy from what I've seen in Colorado today, but you can't beat that price at 3,600.
Love it. Let's see if we got any player prop questions we can give to the panel here. Steve Jackson, our buddy, asked us, and a fellow Michigan alum, Bainbridge, Froton. Steve says, Froton, I don't have a TE player prop yet. Help a brother out. Any tight end player? What was Helm's number? He's in the
40s right now. I have one if you don't, Eric.
Oh, I got one.
Okay.
I am going to go with old friend from Boise State, Matthew Lauder, not Matt Lauer. There is no button underneath Mr. Lauder's desk. However, Matthew Lauder is up there at 40.5 receiving yards. And as we know, this is the Ashton Genty show here at Boise State. Sure, they go and they hit Lauder every once in a while when they need to get a first down, and he's a nice safety valve. But at 40.5 yards, sure, this feels like an overcorrection. Last week, caught 5 passes for 61 yards in a competitive contest against Nevada. But in each of the previous 4 games, he didn't sniff that 40.5 yards mark, considering the fact that this is Boise State. This is the Ashton Genty show. They have to kind of get him a little more steam. He's kind of gone down a little bit in the Heisman odds. I think they want to get him going again with Louder at 40.5 yards. A simple benchmark when you're capping props. If you see a tight end at the 40-plus yard mark, they had better be pretty damn good. A Rondé Gadsden, Harold Fannin level of tight ends if I'm going to consider taking that over. Just as a rule of thumb, I'm going to go under with Louder at 40.5 receiving yards. Who's yours, Michael?
Well, I was just going to speak to your point. We saw that last night in the UTSA game with Houston Thomas. Good player, but 69.5 prop yards for a tight end in UTSA is way too much. You're just going to go with the under every single time. I'm on Luke Haas over 25.5 receiving yards. I know he's facing the number 1 pass defense in the country in Texas, but he's got 120 receiving yards in the last 2 games. His targets is up. He's finally looking healthy, like the freshman version of Luke Haas. So I like over 25.5. You can get that at Bet Rivers. He's either 27.5 everywhere else, or he's not even listed. So like that over.
Matt Hudson asks us a question near and dear to our hearts, Froton. He asks us Raiola interception prop to the moon.
Yeah, well, he's out there. It's funny. This is like the immovable force against the immovable. Who cares? That is old wrestling nonsense. Point is, Raiola is, we know that he is a interception machine. He is happy to do it each of the past 4 games, but this is also the USC defense. Can we trust USC's defense to be able to go and make a play out there? I mean, I hope so, but gosh, that is a limping SoCal team that I like, but yes, you can't reasonably take an under on Dylan Raiola's interceptions. So, excuse me, there's a burp for you. I will go with the over as well. Good call always on Dylan Raiola. I hope USC will help us out here.
Yeah, definitely going with Raiola. And they switched their offensive coordinator. We got Dana Holgorsen back in the game. Welcome
Dana
back.
Holgorsen gonna be cranking Red Bulls on the sidelines. Watch.
Oh, he sure will. It'll be good to have Holgo back in our lives and
cranking vodka Red Bulls.
Vodka Red Bulls. Yes, I forgot the
get it right.
other part of that concoction.
Yeah, get it right.
Yeah. Mike Lukovitz asks us, who's Froton's Jalen Milroe pick for this week? And he said killed that ladder on rush yards last week. Thanks for remembering, Mike. And yeah, Froton, you climbed that ladder to heaven last week. Well, who's the Froton? We'll have to do a new segment, the Froton ladder to heaven play of the week. Who you got this week, Froton?
Well, I hope I take you to heaven. Gosh, I don't want to take you to hell. I know that. I got a couple interesting ones for you. First, one of them is my best bet, so I will hold off on that. I will say this, though. Jacoby Criswell, our boy Misswell. It's been a little while. We haven't talked to him. But fortunately, the magic elixir for any passing game is the Wake Forest secondary. Oh, it's magic. We saw what happened, as you mentioned, Michael, with our friend Fernando last week, lighting up Wake Forest. And now North Carolina has the pleasure of playing against that Wake Forest Demon Deacons defense. He's listed at 232.5 passing yards. He's got a ladder for 300 passing yards at plus 425. Hey, look, Wake Forest, this is what they do. They breed shootouts. Do I think this goes over? Oh, yeah, this is going to go over. But the ladder at 4.25 to 1 on your money, I can't resist. There's a 300 plus there. Also, we'll go with this over there on Florida. Our friend, Shamari DK. You've heard him here. He's at least an all-SEC overperformer on the wide receiver side. Not quite an All-American yet, but he's trying, and that's why he's here. 80-plus receiving yards for Shamari DK is going to get you 3.5 to 1 plus 360. He's done that 3 of the last 6 games. He had 678 one of them. Otherwise, he'd be 4 out of the last 6. We know that our boy Trey Wilson not playing. Elijah Badger's been banged up. He will play, but he's kind of been the low volume option. number one wide receiver in Florida is Shamari DK. They're going to try to stretch the field and hit him deep. 3.5 to 1. I'll take it.
Bainbridge, any ladder type thoughts, inclinations, or plays for you today?
Not that come to mind. I did ladder Chandler Morris last night, and that obviously did not pan out well, so I'm staying away from ladders today.
That was a crazy line.
That must have been a high ladder. God, 500 yards or something?
Yeah, because
couldn't even hit 300. Come on.
No, he couldn't.
Something's wrong with that North Texas offense. Injuries on that team. We had one other question, and then we'll go round robin on the top props. Our buddy Mike Huseman asked us, he gets a second one because it was his 40th birthday this week. He asked us, Sam Houston is minus 18.5 on the road at Kennesaw. Can Kennesaw get the dead cap bounce and cover? I'll start with this one. Yeah, I mean, like Kennesaw have been playing better, but after the weird thing with the coach, you had that where they said he stepped down, and then later in the day he's like, no, actually I was fired. And now it seems like they have like a mini team mutiny going on. Yeah. They've had all these guys enter the portal. They're best players. My boy Quay Ashley from the 50-teamer, my only decent free agent signing, the 50-teamer all year, he's in the portal. I don't even know what is left of this Kennesaw roster, which was already bottom barrel. So, and Sam Houston's not a team that typically, I mean, they're not trying to win by margin. I don't know if they're going to be able to help themselves in this game because I don't know that Kennesaw has any remaining talent on hand. Anyone disagree with that?
Nope.
Don't disagree at all. This Kennesaw team is going to lay down what they did to the coach over there. Remember, he started the program.
Yeah, he started the program
a
couple years ago.
Yeah, he started the program. He led them to prominence at the FCS. And then the administration decided they wanted to jump FBS without ever even letting him get to the mountaintop at the FCS. And so now you get him 1 year in as a FBS program, and you don't give him an opportunity to go out and get the groceries that are necessary to cook. Like, come on, man. Like, and they went from what was a traditional double wing flex bone style of offense to a more college football friendly, wider open offense. It's gonna take some time. How they did him wasn't great. That's why you see all of the players jumping ship. That's why you see every high school coach around Georgia and beyond going, yeah, we don't know if we're rocking with Kennesaw State. I think this is a blowout. Sam Houston blows them out. They don't have any other choice. I don't know what they're going to do on defense. I think Kennesaw State lays down. So go get you some money. Go put some money on Sam Houston and get you some bread.
I think Kennesaw Mountain Landis has as good a shot of covering as Kennesaw State. Kennesaw Mountain Landis, for those out there who went around in the 1920s like I was, the first ever commissioner of baseball. There you go. Little fact for you.
There you go.
Justin Tingwald said, I played Raiola over 190.5 passing yards after 5 straight games in Midwest win. They're now in LA. Speculative play for him. Froton, you have any thoughts on that Raiola?
Yeah, number? I'm okay with that. Yeah, okay. And I Mr. Tingwald, Justin Tingwald, first off, thank you very much, Justin, for the comment. He's been all over the thread and with some pretty funny stuff. So big props for Justin. Yeah, I can't blame you. Dude, this is USC. This is USC's pass.
This is Holgerson effect.
This is Holgerson. This is USC. They're playing. I see a pretty heavy overscript here, and I have no problem with that over 190.5. They're going to be slinging it around.
Bainbridge, you guys do the individual player stat projections on the CFF site. I'm curious where you guys came in with Raiola this week, if you remember.
I can check right now, but let's just give me a sec. I'm pretty sure it's in the 230s.
What?
238 on Raiola.
Wow. 48 yards of value?
Okay.
Based on the Bainbridge scale? Let's
go. I like
Justin
that.
Tingwald getting some value, brother.
Yeah, okay. Like that a lot. Boys, let's round robin the props really quick. Empty the barrel on anything we haven't yet. We'll start with Bainbridge. Bainbridge, is there any quarterback player props today you wanted to get off your chest that we haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, a couple, and it'll pertain to my best bet. I'm paying attention to the Utah situation. Most of the Isaac Wilson props have been pulled, but it sounds like he's
Boo!
potentially.
Why would they pull those wonderful Isaac Wilson props?
He is warming up this morning, so
Wow.
I would watch for that. Peyton Thorne unders all over the place. If you want to take it, he is starting, but I expect to see 2, if not 3 quarterbacks from
Against
Auburn
ULM.
today.
Yeah.
Yep. Doesn't matter.
For you.
I'd be curious if if Froton, you're the interception prop king. He's still plus money, Peyton Thorne. I don't care if it's Louisiana Monroe. He's plus money to throw an interception. Wouldn't mind that. And then one last one. Rocco Beck
beat me last week, that prick.
Rocco Beck, 29.5 passing attempts. It is juice to the over at -130 at ESPN, but Iowa State can't run the football this season, so I like Beck to go over 29.5 passes.
You're stealing my Rocco Rock props? You know that I'm the Rocco Beck guy, Michael. You yell at me when I take Rocco Beck.
You have the yards. I'll take the pass attempts.
All right, Froton, floor is yours. Any other quarterback ones we haven't mentioned yet?
250.5 Rocco Beck, as discussed. Michael also mentioned Peyton Thorne. My favorite Peyton Thorne bet on the board. This one's a great one. 26.5 pass attempts. As discussed, Holden Gariner, Walker White, Hank the Tank.
Yep.
All of them took the starter snaps last week because Thorne was banged up. Thorne has been practicing this week, but all those guys, like as was stated by Hugh Freeze, Thor's boy,
My boy.
Those guys, he expects a couple of those guys to play. And against ULM, are you going to leave Peyton Thorne in the whole time? Retread senior who's gone. Whereas the only real time you're going to be able to get Walker White or Brown some actually meaningful reps because they have Texas A&M and Alabama on deck. Like, dude, he's not throwing 27 passes in this game, Peyton Thorne against ULM. That's not happening. Give me the under on that. And as mentioned, Isaac Wilson, 180.5, he was up there for. That was a blessed line. If you can get him, take that under.
Every rose has its thorn, Froton.
And Peyton does too. Yeah.
We'll go to
throw that interception last week. I was pissed.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got the rushing one earlier this year against Georgia or whatever, so we'll take that. Running backs, Bainbridge, any running back plays for you we haven't mentioned yet?
Oh, boy. Let's see. I am low on running back plays this week. I know I tailed Froton, Wayshawn Parker, 54.5 rushing yards. I mean, it's New Mexico defense. I think everybody's going to go crazy in that matchup. And then
even consider a ladder on that for Wayshawn Parker, which he hit last week, as we discussed. That was another ladder play. Yeah. Give that a look at 80+. And
then Trey Wisner for Texas. I don't know about you guys. I have no clue who the Texas RB1 is. Your best bet is to take the under on whoever's listed because it could be 2 other guys getting the bulk of the carries. So Wisner under 63.5. He might be down to 61.5 now. I'll still take that.
Hell yeah. Put that out earlier. Me and Bainbridge with a 2-for-1 special. Let's go.
Froton, for you, running back plays.
We talked about all the way Sean Parker. We're going all the way, Sean, with him. Over 54.5 rushing yards. Again, New Mexico, legit bottom 5 defense. And they're playing quick and the scoring points, just everything about that screams over. Nate Noel. Yep. Blessed is the running back that I will fade. 42.5 rushing yards. Speaking of that, Michael, I mean, you got Carroll, you got Noel. I have no idea what to do with that backfield. They haven't done much at all. You got Brady Cook. Maybe he plays. Maybe it's Chris Pine. We don't know. There's been a terrible passing attack there from Missouri. I don't feel very good about them at all. I'm going to fade Noel. Abu Sama, they gave us Abu Sama at 50.5 rushing yards. I mean, you have to take the under. You have to. It's pretty much written into my contract here at FantasyLife. LJ Martin, BYU. He's cleared 66.5, 67.5, wherever it is, each of the past 3 games. He was injured previously. Since he's come back, he's been the clear number 1. They have playing against Arizona State, and I don't think we're going to be throwing the ball particularly much. I think you're going to see plenty of running out of LJ Martin. I'm going to go with that. And one more, I can't help it. Mike is going to be so mad at me right now. He's going to be mad at me. Caden Durham, I know, Mike. I have gone every which way on Caden Durham. I've taken his receiving yardage. I've taken his rushing yardage. I've taken his under. I'm going to beat it this time. I'm going to beat it. I'm taking Caden Durham over 51.5 rushing yards. Okay, you only got 8 carries last game in a straight blowout, and he still cleared that. He's going to get double digits. He's going over 51.5 rushing yards against that pathetic Florida defense. I can't help it. Michael, forgive me, over Caden Durham.
You can't quit Caden Durham.
I can't do it. Bull Durham. He's gonna bring it home for us this year.
Yeah,
51.5. They want us to bet this over.
I was with you on everything up till the LJ Martin thing. How is he going to get over that when the game script flips against BYU in the second half?
That's a good point.
Yeah,
but that Kansas breeds. It's not going to flip because they're always close games. It's not like they're going to be blowing them out. They'll be close, so it's competitive. So both teams have to push.
And on that note, I'm going to chip in Devin Neal over 84.5. This is a very similar. Wasn't this my play of the week last week?
It was, and it came home, baby.
Yeah, I did the 2-step with Kansas and then the Neal over. This handicap is super similar because BYU's defense has stylistic similarities to Iowa State's, the team that Kansas beat last week, in that they have a good pass defense and they both have bad run defenses. Kansas is going to be able to tee off on that. And you saw what that did to Iowa State. They were on their heels the whole game. Kansas was controlling the ball, controlling the clock. Going to be the game plan here as well. And I think Kansas is going to win this game. So, having the running back, you're going to get the game script there. Receivers, I'll chip mine in first. I mentioned it earlier in the show. Luther Burden, I think this is a big game for pounding him with short targets, regardless of who is in at quarterback.
Well, it's not long targets. We know that.
Indeed. But if he gets the amount of targets that we're thinking in this game, that it has to be embedded there. His receiving line, now it has come up a little bit. It was in the high 40s earlier this week. It's 52.5 maybe now. That would be one that I would go over on. I think that has to be a big part of the game plan. Bainbridge, any wide receiver, tight end, player props that we haven't gotten to yet?
I hit on Luke Haas. One other, same game. These are always risky because you can catch one pass and he goes over, but Tyrone Broden at 26.5 receiving yards, he stinks. He has 41 targets.
Tall.
Yeah, he's tall. He's got 41 targets this season. He's caught 15 passes. He has 5 of the 12 drops for Arkansas, okay? Against the number 1 secondary in the country. Fade him under 26.5 for Tyrone Broden. I don't get why he still starts. It's unbelievable.
Bainbridge is fired up this morning.
I love it.
He starts every single week. He plays 70% of the snaps every single week. I don't get it.
I love this.
Love it.
I love it. Yeah, but this is the dark Bainbridge, with the red eyes,
with the red or with the black hoodie on, like over the eyes,
gold writing on the hat and everything.
Absolutely tremendous. Froton, any for you wide receivers, tight ends we haven't mentioned?
God, after that Bainbridge,
that's a hard act to follow.
I don't know if I can follow that up. Let's be honest with you. I will say I don't have a lot of wide receivers this week. We talked about Chamari DK. We talked about, a couple of our tight ends. We talked about Harbor. Yeah, I think I've unloaded the clip on my tight end, on all my pass catchers, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, one other one. I'm sorry, but I've done this now a couple straight weeks and it keeps hitting. So this is another principal one. I'm going under, and it hurts because Ashton Jeanty is just like the heart and soul of college football this year. But I got to fade Ashton Jeanty again. 193.5 rushing yards.
Monster line.
I think San Jose State can put up a little bit of a fight here, and that's how I would lean on the side. But San Jose State, they have a good run defense. First of all, that's the strength of their defense. And then second of all, the thing that San Jose State does really well, and they throw the ball and the efficiency of that. That's the weakness of Boise State's defense. So therefore, I think San Jose State is going to control the ball longer in this game, chip away at the sticks, and keep the clock running. And again, on the other side, run defense is their strength. So I'm fading Ashton Jeanty at 193.5.
I do have one receiver. I forgot. I do have a receiver I forgot to give out that I haven't yet. I was supposed to give him out on Tennessee, Georgia.
Yeah.
Chris, the Brazzer The Brazzer, Chris Brazzell.
Yeah.
As we know, we're all familiar with Brazzers here in this show. He had one game against Florida where he caught 3 passes for 49 yards, right? In terms of the past 7 games. It's the only time he's cleared this 27.5 yard receiving yards mark. Opened up at 29.5. He was up at 40 last week. Like, I don't know what they're doing with Brazzell, but he's basically the Tyrone Broden of Tennessee. Give me Chris Brazzell to go under 27.5 receiving yards.
Before we get to our round robin, our picks of the day, Gene, was there any games, any sides that you had in the clip that we hadn't talked about yet you want to get out there?
Yeah, I actually just want to make sure I make sure everybody got those FCS picks because I think they're really, really good. South Dakota over North Dakota because South Dakota is playing at the level of South Dakota State and North Dakota State. South Dakota State plays Southern Illinois. The line on that is minus 29.5. Southern Illinois is not good. South Dakota State, they're firing on all cylinders. And then the big one, North Dakota State over Missouri State. They get Missouri State at home. Missouri State, not a bad ball club, only lost a couple games. But when they step up to the Dakotas, you know what happens. They get blessed back down. So North Dakota State minus 13, South Dakota State minus 29.5, and South Dakota minus 12.5. Get you a good 3-team parlay in there. Get your money up. The Dakota's Gold Rush. Definitely check that out. Also, a couple player props that I like. I really, really like Will Shepherd over 56.5 passing yards today. They use him like the quick throw screen guy. He's the bigger, stronger, more physical wide receiver. He gets a lot of those when they can't run the ball. He's like an extension of the run game when they get him the ball quick. They also like to use him on the RPO stuff. They don't really like to use Wester or Travis Hunter on the RPO stuff. It's really more Shepherd and
Jimmy Horn's out
and
Horn for Colorado.
And Horn is not
He's
playing.
Out. Yep.
And Horn is not playing. It's usually Shepherd and Horn on the RPO stuff, but Horn's not playing, which means more targets for Shepherd. I really like that play. And I also like Isaiah Augustive over the 39, I think it's 38.5 rushing yards. Utah, for as stout as their defense is, they do give up some yards in the rushing game to almost everybody they play. If you look at their stats, most teams have 2 people that go over 38.5 rushing yards. So I like that play as well. So those are the things. Any other bets that you want to see from me, definitely go to the bet tracker on FantasyLife and check that out. I've been hitting pretty well. They should go and mess with your boy. I was 2-1 last night in those bets because Houston didn't show up. I thought the Fighting Willie Fritzes would show up. They did not show up.
All right, boys, let's hop into our best bets. We've hit the 11:30 mark, so let's hop right into those. And Gene, let's just continue with you for Coach's Corner.
Yeah, I like I said, I was going to go with the stimulus package, but I felt there's another team that's been giving. There's another team that's been so generous this year that's been just allowing us to eat as much as possible, and that is Murray State. Murray State has been the gift that keeps on giving. More people hitting the portal, by the way, just in case Murray State didn't have any other issues. More people hitting the portal. Coaching staff in disarray. They are playing Kentucky at Kentucky. And you can say what you want about Kentucky and whether or not they're good. I'll tell you this about Kentucky. When they have a bad team in front of them, they blow them out. The only other game they had a blowout this year, I think, was against Ohio. If I'm not mistaken, nobody thinks Murray State's on Ohio's level. Murray State has been blown out by every single team that they've played this year. I cannot believe this line is only at minus 38.5. I say that, and I'm not even joking. I'm surprised this thing isn't at 42, but it's probably not at 42 to 45 because people don't think Kentucky can score. Guess what they'll do today? They'll score, and guess who else will score? Their defense, because Murray State will give them the ball. That defense is way too good. They'll have way too many possessions. Kentucky, minus 38.5. Coach's Corner. You can put it on the board.
Yes. Now, I'm going to hop in here because Gene usually gives us the military stimulus package at this time. This time he goes away from a service academy. So I'm coming in with a service academy, Gene.
Oh, wow. Wow.
We are taking Air Force plus 4.5 at home against Oregon State. This line is so I got that on Sunday. It has come all the way down to 3. I don't care. Air Force is going to win this game. Oregon State has lost 4 straight, and that has coincided with them being just absolutely decimated by injuries. The defense is horrible. It was already thin. Now they're playing guys that should not be on an FBS field. They only returned 2 starters on defense. Like I said, it's been ravaged through no experience there anymore. 102nd SP plus defense and getting worse. And the decided worst part of that rancid defense is the run defense for Oregon State. 124 success rate, 123rd EPA per run. Guess who runs the ball the most in the nation by a per play basis? That would be Air Force. So Air Force can just mercilessly tee off on the weakness of Oregon State. I don't think Oregon State is going to be able to return enough fire here. This is a low-scoring game. Air Force wins in an upset, which isn't actually an upset. Air Force had a terrible start to the season. They're still competing, though. If they just upset Fresno State, they're going to get another upset right here.
Are you money lining that, Thor?
Money line. Air Force
Money
outright.
line.
Money line. The stimulus package is back.
Wow.
The stimulus package is back.
Yes.
Yeah, we're riding this thing. All right, Bainbridge, your play of the day.
Yeah, Dylan Carson back for Air Force in full effect, too, so I love that. He got 30 carries last week. I need him in a semifinal matchup in college fantasy. I am paying attention to the Utah reports. That's why I've been looking at Twitter here. My top play was Dorian Singer under 58.5. I thought they were going to start the Ferrari, Luke Batari, at quarterback, who is a walk-on with fire red hair and a man bun.
Wow.
Okay? So I was going to go under Dorian Singer. It looks like Isaac Wilson is going to start today. So I would monitor those pregame reports in the next half an hour and see if we can hit some unders on either Dorian Singer if Isaac Wilson doesn't play, or get on those Isaac Wilson unders if he does start.
Love it. Froton, your torpedo.
Well, his mind is not for rent to any god or government. That's right. Tom Sawyer Robertson, quarterback, Baylor, listed at 243.5 passing yards against the West Virginia pass defense. Now, what did we say earlier in the show, Thor? Did we talk about the West Virginia pass defense? We did.
Because it's travesty. It's an abomination.
They're famous.
It is a disgrace.
Infamous. Yes. We talked about it before, but their secondary was really good last year. Had a lot of defections, did not replace those defections, and it has seriously taken a toll. 128th in adjusted net yards per attempt, 127th in yards per dropback, 130th in EPA per dropback allowed. This is the absolute worst pass defense in the entire Power Four, and now they're playing against that Baylor team. Again, Jake Spavital at offensive coordinator. That offense is humming right now. And with them playing again against this West Virginia team, who I think will be able to score a little bit, which is good because that means that Baylor keeps pace. I don't see any way that Sawyer Robertson goes under that 243.5 passing yardage mark. Go for it. Over Sawyer Robertson, best bet against West Virginia.
Love it. And with that, we have run out of time. For my co-host, Eric Froton of NBC Sports, the coach, Gene Clemons, and our weekly special guest, Mike Bainbridge. Appreciate him hopping in. I am Thor Nystrom. Enjoy the